Shalom Yasharallah. First and foremost, I want to say all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Racha HaKwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the house of David. Salutations to you brothers throughout the four corners of the earth, teaching the truth and righteousness and sincerity to you Israelite foreigners. Come back home to the truth. To those that passed on serving the Lord, the dead in Yahweh Shai shall arise first. To the sisters who believe, keep supporting and encouraging your brothers out here, risking our lives to teach this word, and always commemorate the sister who washed Yahweh Shai feet when you read the scriptures. I wanted to talk about something which the motivation for this video is totally not related to the truth. It's related to actually something that I deal with sometimes during my job. But you know that scripture that says it's better to go to the house of mourning than the house of mirth? It's not telling you that you should seek misery. But one thing that I realized when you read the whole chapter, what it's talking about is it's better to get to the point. You know, what is the house of mirth? People standing around smiling and all that. At the end of the day, we're all going to die, right? We're all going to meet our end. Now, of course, you're going to have salvation, you know, but the general protocol for life is it's always going to end in death. And a lot of times when you're dangling around in your final moments, you just want to get to the death. Like right now, my father had a fucking heart attack about 6 months ago. And my mother keeps telling me that every so often he just says, God, please take me. Because he's already at that age where he's accomplished most of what he's going to accomplish. He's not really, you know, he feels he's just dangling around in life, like not really, you know, pretty much doing anything. As humans, we want to get to the point. And then you have people like, for example, like I said, what triggered this video is I have a worker, co-worker, worker, whatever. He's an installer for the company I work with, or I work for rather. And he always calls and starts off with anything but the actual point. So I have to coach him to, okay, what do you want? What do you need? What was the purpose of this phone call? Because he will literally dance around what he needs for 10, 20 minutes in conversation. Not 10, 20 literally, but it'll take him minutes to get to the point. Minutes which I don't have, because sometimes I'll be in the middle of talking to him and the customer calls in, or one of the bosses calls or something. So at some point I just have to just say, yo, shut the fuck up. I don't literally ever say shut the fuck up, but sometimes I have to tell him, yo, all right, what's the point? What's the end game? A lot of times, like if you ever deal with me about anything and I stop you short and say, what's the end game? What's the result that you're looking for? That's because I don't want to be in the middle in limbo waiting to see what the hell, where this ends. Just tell me what's the end game? What do you want? What do you expect to achieve out of this? You know, one time I remember that a doctrine came up within the camp. And I pretty much told the brothers, what's the result? What's the end game? Let's skip all the bullshit and arguing over doctrine and get to what you expect us to teach at the end of your whatever you're trying to do. Okay, so what's the proof you got there? All right, cool. You don't have proof, or this is your proof. Let's deal with it. Let's measure everything against logic. You know, obviously you know how that ended, because we're not teaching anything different. You know, but we want to get to the point. The Lord wants to get to the point. It's too much fluff and all this bullshit. A lot of times as men, we need to just get to the point. You know, we have a big problem with trying to dance around shit and try to make a case. You know, and when I worked in customer service in a call center, it really taught me a lot about getting to the point. A lot of times, and here's what's funny about that industry. Customer service, you have to tell a customer no without using the word no. Literally, that's the way, that's what they listen for. A lot of times when you call in anything, insurance, cable bill, whatever, count how many times they say they actually use the word no. Or not. We will not be able to do this. We won't be, you know what I'm saying? And you remember the movie The Negotiator. He says, never use the word no. It eliminates options. And the only option is to kill people and shit, you know. I mean, of course, that's very extreme, but literally, you know, you're in an industry that makes you talk a lot, but they have what's called an AHT, average handle time, which includes talk time. You got to get rid of a call within maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Because you go past that, then you're biting into what they call damn, what the fuck was that? Whatever it is, the average wait time for a customer. Like, they literally can be fined if there's a long wait to speak to a representative. I don't think that that's the case anymore, because every time I call anywhere, I fucking, average seconds to answer. That's what it is. ASA. This is a real thing. You want to get people service fast enough? Let reps get to the point. Let reps just say no. You want a payment extension? No, you cannot have one. Let me speak to your supervisor. No, this is not a reason to speak to a supervisor. The problem is people with their situations, and they think that they're the only one in the world, or their circumstance is the only one in the world that's there. That's that way. In the grand scheme of things, this is a business. We're here to make money. You're not paying your bill. Your cable's getting cut off. But we can't say that to a customer. I was never able to say that. And customers used to really lay it on us. Because they used to be like, so you're saying you don't value your customer, or you're saying this. You know what I'm saying? So the lack of getting to the point, or the lack of an ability to get to the point, causes a lot of congestion, period, in life. It's not just call centers, it's in life. You know, if somebody calls me, for example, and says, hey, I need to borrow money to do this. And then I look, and it's a brother who don't pay their tithes and don't do shit, but then you want help. I already know what the answer is gonna be, but I have to go through a process, because I don't ever want to just tell somebody no, right? So I have to go and say, hey, you know, I have to talk to, you know, I would say the wise men, have to talk to somebody about it. I don't want to just give a no, even though I know that this person is literally, no, you're in no position to ask to help when you're always, you know what I mean? But if I could just give a flat out no, that'll save other people time. Or even with my mom seems to think my father is the only patient that his doctors have. So she's like, oh, they got to take this tube out of him. Mom, it's going to take time. It's not something that's going to be 1, 2, 3. You know, it's going to take time. Oh no, I got to fight with this person. No, you don't got to fight with this person. You fight, they may push him to the back of the queue, you know? People that don't know how to get to the point. We're not in a get to the point society. We're not in that type of society. We're in a very fluffy society. We're in a very, hey, I got to pretend to like you so you can buy something off of me. Salespeople are the shadiest fucking people in the world, honestly. But why is it? Because the only way they're going to sell is to make people think that they're invested. You know, why do NFL players do half the shit they do? Right? They'll be like, oh yeah, you know, I want to bring a ring to the Chicago Bears, but they got to pay me fairly and shit. They all that extra fuck. Nigga, what do you bring to the table? Okay, we'll pay you for that. Oh no, that's not enough. You know, so then all the extra shit. No, get to the point. Get to the point. One thing about I've noticed in life, people from the Caribbean, including myself, my parents, my daughter's parents, they're not, a lot of people misunderstand Jamaicans and West Indians and Cubans and Puerto Ricans. Well, Puerto Ricans have been pretty much assimilated into the society, but one thing you notice about Caribbean culture is we're very to the point. We don't want to dance around and all this bullshit. No, get to the point. What do you want? Okay, this is what I can do for you. You know, what can you do for me in return? Okay, cool. Boom, this is the agreement. I pay you this much to do this job, and that's it. You know, but American culture is not like that. American culture is very dance around, very, hey, how are you? You know, do you really give a fuck seriously, do you really give a fuck about how the person's doing? No, you're just a fucking customer. We don't, no company in America tells anybody you're just a fucking customer. No, you have to talk to the person. I used to work with a guy, man, no lie. I'm not mad at him for it because it got him where he needed to be in the job. He used to tell customers, I want to thank you for putting food on the table. You're the reason why my kids can eat and shit like that. And that's not all the way true. I mean, his labor and his skills are what, you know, and of course, what the Most High has blessed him to be able to do. But he used to actually go out of his way because customers eat that shit up. You know, customers have gotten accustomed to getting their asses kissed. And that translates over into life. Like, why, when you come to hear the truth, and this is one thing I love about Israelites. For the most part, we do not sugarcoat shit. You come up to us, we will tell you how it is, even if we got to be rude about it. That's why there's so few Israelites. But the fact that it's the truth is why there's so many Israelites. It's funny because we don't have the numbers that a doctrine of this level of honesty should have because of us. Because we are the ones that go out there and tell you like it is. If we danced around and didn't get to the point, guess what? We would have 1 million Israelites. 2-3 million people going out there in the streets and teaching. But we don't, because we don't get to we get to the point. The world is accustomed to people dancing around the point. So when you read the scripture, matter of fact, now that I'm parked, I could pull it up. You know, because this is a scripture that a lot of times brothers take as basically saying it's just better to be sad. No, it's not. That's not what it's saying. Ecclesiastes 7:2. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. I said mirth before. That was a mistake. For that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart. Sorrow is better than laughter. Listen to this. For by the sadness of the countenance, the heart is made better. Through the tough times, you learn more. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the house of fools is in the house of mirth. What does that mean? All the niggas that don't get to the point are in the house of mirth. All the niggas that gotta fucking tell a bitch everything she wants to hear to get her in bed is in the house of mirth. You know what niggas in the house of mourning do? Hey, you know, this is what I bring to the table as a man. What do you bring to the table as a woman? Okay, I can agree with that. You know, whatever. No, the house of mirth. Oh yeah, you know, you're the most beautifulest girl in the world. You know, that's, I know a lot of y'all are probably looking at it like this nigga's reading too much into it. But no, read the whole scripture. That's why it says sorrow is better than laughter. See, laughter, it's okay to laugh and have a good time. I always try to incorporate some type of humor into my teachings because I know, niggas is wound tight, pause. And a lot of times we need to laugh to kind of balance all the fucked up shit going on in this world, But sorrow is better than laughter. When you're sad, you're looking for solutions, and you're looking to you're looking for a solution when you're in a conundrum. I hate to use that word because but when you're in a pickle, so to speak, you're going to look for solutions when you're sad. When you're happy and laughing and thinking everything's a fucking joke, you're not looking for solutions. So you get made stronger in the house of mourning. I'm gonna tell y'all, I can tell you that I've lived a miserable life. Literally. I've lived my father used to put me down, and I didn't realize what that did to my self-esteem till I was a full adult. Fuck a full adult. I was in my 40s when I realized what damage my father did to me. Not that he meant to. It's just that a lot of it, you have to realize that he comes from a culture of men that are men. And he had to fight against the lack of manhood in America. Because young boys grow up playing video games and having all these fucking amenities and shit. He didn't have no amenities growing up. So when he saw me trying to be like American kids, hold the fuck up. What the fuck is wrong with you? He used to call me names and all that shit. And let's not talk about my quote unquote love life. I'm 45 years old, never been married, won't never be married probably. I don't see it. You know what I'm saying? So, but I made it out of poverty. I'm still in poverty, but I made it out of that's what I survived, is poverty. And all my life I've been looking for solutions. All my life I've had to find solutions. When you have a rigorous life, you have to find solutions. When you have a happy life, maybe you can find solutions, but you're never tried and tested. What I have gone to, what I have been out there at camp till 5 a.m, all them damn Saturday, Sunday mornings, from 2 p.m. the day before, if I didn't have a difficult life, I don't know. I'm glad I had a difficult life because hey, listen, I don't got nothing better to do. I'm out here teaching. You introduce somebody to toys, PS5s and PS6s and Xboxes and shit. Then you eliminate, then you got somebody that's playing around, goofing around and joking around and shit. Not somebody taking life serious. See, I take life serious because shit, I had a serious life. A lot of you niggas didn't have that, and that's the problem. A lot of you are part of the house of mirth. I'm part of the house of mourning. Now, the house of mirth isn't satanic. If you lived a life that wasn't difficult, all right, but there's gonna come difficulty. Difficulty is a part of life. And a lot of you are gonna find that because you are not trained to problem solve. I'm trained to problem solve because I've had a hard life. Had a difficult life. You have to learn what to say and what not to say. And then when you grow around in a high crime area and you look like everybody else in the area, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to think about it. Cops see a nigga like me with a baseball cap and baggy jeans. Oh, that's a fucking criminal. Right? And I'm walking around the neighborhood. I could just be going to the corner store. I get stopped by cops. Oh, what are you doing? Come here. Let me check you. And you have to learn what to say and what not to say. I grew up in when I was already an adult, but when gangs was in the area, I used to walk around with a big shield of David, so-called. I had to know what to say to these bloods that used to be like, yo, what that 6 star be about? But again, the house of mirth, nothing against people that are in that mirthy spirit, but the house of mourning and the house of basically seriousness is what we're living in. We got dead homies, dead brothers. You know, you learn to live with regrets. Literally, damn, that's a fox. Literally a fox. I'm in the area. I'm in Westfield. So those of you that know New Jersey, you know you're gonna see foxes and deers and shit. But anyway, with that, I'm gonna say shalom and you know, peace to you brothers out here that's don't have any peace because of this life. And people don't get to the point. People circle the point. People want to extend. That's what it is too. People that are in the house of mirth extend suffering, right? Even their own. They don't feel the suffering because they extend the suffering. In reality, just get to it, man. This is what the end result of what you're doing is going to be. But anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.